This is a region of the world that many people, many listeners might not be familiar with, but economically speaking, it's extremely important, isn't it?
It is. And what's happening there, Lewis, is a bad shock for the global economy at a fragile time. It will slow economic growth. It will increase inflationary pressures. It will reduce the scope for policy, including in the UK, and it undermines the global order. So whichever way you look at it, the direction of the impact is clear. The magnitude will depend on the duration of this conflict.
In terms of, people talk a lot about the Straits of Hormuz. This is an area of the world that, in terms of international shipping and oil in particular, is very important. If those straits were to be closed, which is something that there's been speculation about, what kind of impact do you think that could have?
Well, first, we've seen the impact. Shipping lines have now reduced or stopped their use of the straits, and for understandable reasons that become more dangerous. That impacts the supply of oil to the rest of the world. That impacts the oil price. It impacts what we will pay at the pump. So we're already seeing the impact. If they are indeed closed, then that impact will multiply in a significant manner.
In terms of overall economic volatility at the moment, it feels as if there are so many hotspots around the world. It makes it extremely difficult, doesn't it, for any finance minister. Our own, of course, is Rachel Reeves. She's going through the comprehensive spending review at the moment, what happened this week. These are figures that are predicated on, forecasts for years to come. It almost makes the entire thing feel quite futile, doesn't it? The geopolitical volatility of the world right now.
It does. And we've seen two different reactions. In the case of the government, they're sticking with one central scenario and they just keep on revising it. But if you go to business, they are now looking at multiple scenarios. Most businesses now are having to discuss not only a baseline, in fact, they can't even define a baseline. They're defining many possible outcomes. And the result of that, unfortunately, Lewis, is that people tend to go to the sideline. They wait on investment decisions. They wait on employment decisions.
If, of course, this goes on for any length of time, we were hearing from Richard Dearlove, who thinks it will go on at least for a few weeks. If it were to go on for longer, and we did see that inflationary pressure start to build in the economy because of disruption to international shipping, it makes it even less likely, doesn't it, that we might see monetary policy easing, i.e. interest rate cuts over the course of the rest of the year, which is something that many politicians, Donald Trump certainly wants, but also Keir Starmer would quite like as well.
You're absolutely right. It pulls the rug from policymaking because it's stagflationary. That's a really important word, Lewis. Stag means it slows the economy. Inflation means it increases the price rises. So a central bank in that context will be less able to cut interest rates, but let's also not forget the budget. The budget gets hit on both sides, lower revenues and higher expenditures, which means come October, there's a higher probability of greater taxation.
How concerned do you think the Chancellor should be that of the G7 countries currently, and these things fluctuate a bit, but currently Britain's borrowing costs are higher than any of our G7 competitors?
They are, and they reflect a few things, including the lack of the European Central Bank support, including Britain's own debt dynamics. Look, the Chancellor should be worried. Her room for maneuver, her so-called headspace, is getting reduced day in and day out.
How worried do you think she should be? Do you think there is any prospect that as the year goes on and some of this volatility we see becomes more acute? I mean, there is often some, fevered talk about Britain facing a debt crisis. Do you think that is, it's not a likely outcome, it's a credible outcome?
I say it's a possibility and not a probability. It becomes a probability if the government decides to borrow its way out of its new problems. Now, that's not good news for anybody listening, because the alternative to borrowing is either higher taxation or lower spending on public services. So whichever way you look at it, this is going to hit us in the pocket.
Mohamed El-Erian, I'm right in saying you're standing for Chancellor of Cambridge University, am I right?
I am.
Do you think, just on an entirely separate question then, do you think that Britain, in that new role that you might have, given what we're seeing in higher education policy from the Trump administration and the fact that there are many people working, academics, very, very gifted people in the United States who are worried about the war, really, that at least against some institutions the Trump administration is waging, do you think we in Britain should be welcoming these people with open arms?
So they certainly want to come. We're seeing a number of students who would have gone to the US now looking to come to Cambridge. We're seeing a number of academics from the US, brilliant minds, Lewis, who would like to come here. The reality is our ability to absorb them is less than our willingness. And for long-standing reasons. Some have to do with the context, visas, but others have to do with our financial capabilities. These people need accommodation. They need support. So one of the reasons why I'm running is to try to make Cambridge more resilient, more agile, so that it can maintain its academic excellence, it can protect freedom of speech and academic freedom, and it can welcome brilliant minds who contribute to the well-being of this country and the world.
Just very briefly, what is one thing you think the British government could do to do exactly what you've just said, to allow more people to be able to come? Because it is potentially a tremendous economic opportunity, isn't it?
It is a huge opportunity. Follow what the French and what the Swiss are doing already. They have moved very quickly to make it easier for these people to come on a temporary basis. I want to stress a temporary basis in order to contribute to the economic well-being. Most of them want to go back to the US. They don't want to stay here. They want to go back to the US, but they'd like a 2 to 3 year place which is safe and which allows them to continue to do the brilliant things they do, which results in massive innovations and higher income for quite a few people.
Mohamed El-Erian there, President of Queen's College, Cambridge, also standing to be Chancellor of Cambridge University.